Sic semper tyrannis. Thus, always the tyrants. The newest wing of the American left, the shame-barking authoritarian moral busybodies I know to be a shadow ministry of intersectional vice and virtue, led by none other than the righteously indignant leaders Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and the de facto shadow minister Kirsten Gillibrand, have yet again set their sights on a fresh set of enemies to ventilate their sanctimonious resentment upon, their freshest targets being the three highest officers of my beloved Commonwealth, Virginia. Ralph Northam, the governor and chief executive of the Old Dominion, found himself enmeshed in a controversy surrounding late-term third trimester abortions, which, on its face, was a controversy with a great deal of merit. However, the debate between a woman's right to choose and what appeared to be infanticide by its own legislative advocates was quickly sidelined when pictures from Governor Northam's days as a medical student emerged, showing the governor not only sporting blackface, but standing next to a man dressed in a Ku Klux Klan hood and gown. And the information was uncovered and provided by none other than a right-wing outlet of the media, Big League Politics, with connections to Breitbart Media, no doubt in an effort to smear Northam's reputation, which proved effective. The resulting attempt at damage control by the Northam administration was a complete catastrophe, but when Northam rightly rejected and continues to reject calls to step down as governor, his own Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax and Attorney General Mark Herring found themselves in the middle of their own controversies. Now, while Herring faced a similar blackface controversy, Fairfax was accused of sexual assault, which is where I will begin the central thesis of this video. None of them have thus far acquiesced to the hounding demands for them to resign, but I'm skeptical of their overall resolve, because of the power that this new shadow ministry wields with respect to weaponized victimology and moral superiority. Thus always the tyrants. Since the 2016 elections, we've seen a remarkable number of politicians reach their nadir of fortunes under the hammer of #MeToo. The most notable individuals being Al Franken, Roy Moore, John Conyers, Blake Farenthold, Brett Kavanaugh, and the newly anointed Justin Fairfax, but there were dozens more throughout the entire nation from both parties, all of whom were hounded, many who were forced out or resigned, some of whom lost their election bids, and few who survived to serve. Most of these men never saw a day in court or were even indicted, yet they will forever be stained by the shadow ministry of intersectional vice and virtue and its zealots as unforgivable sexual predators, thus always the tyrants. For the sake of speed, I'll look at the most recent with Justin Fairfax and what was arguably the most polarizing political show trial in U.S. history, the confirmation of Associate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Now, we first have to look at the differences between the two men, the most notable being their elevations to their positions. Now, Lieutenant Governor Fairfax was elected by voters of the Commonwealth and has the ability to serve consecutive terms if re-elected as the president of the Virginia State Senate. This is in contrast to Justice Kavanaugh, who was nominated and confirmed to a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the nation. This, no doubt, was the impetus for the Torquemada-style inquisition by the Senate Judiciary Committee and the howling cries from far-left activists nationwide. The Fairfax accusation dates back to 2004, while the alleged Kavanaugh incident occurred around 1982 or 1983, over 2 decades prior. Kavanaugh was a high school senior, while Fairfax was a college graduate, adult and campaign staffer, though still in his mid-20s and relatively young. Kavanaugh is, by his very record, an historically conservative judge and justice, and we can therefore make a strong case that he has, at the very least, Republican loyalties, if not an outright Republican at heart. Fairfax, on the other hand, is a lifetime Democrat, heavily involved in Democratic politics since his collegiate days in student government and participating in several campaigns of high-profile Democratic candidates. However, there are striking similarities between the two. Both earned Ivy League law degrees, served as district court law clerks, and maintained seemingly pristine private and public images. Additionally, the initial allegations of sexual assault against the two men sparked other accusations, which both men unequivocally denied in the most strident terms, and both sets of allegations occurred when the men's names were on the docket for their respective positions, with Christine Blasey Ford's initial breakthrough coming in 2012, the year Mitt Romney pinned Kavanaugh as a potential justice should he have been elected, and Vanessa Tyson's initial claim coming in 2017 when Fairfax sought the position of lieutenant governor. Again, both men received strident attacks and calls for resignation, and in Kavanaugh's case, a rejection of confirmation by the left-wing mob. Thus, always the tyrants. The calls for Fairfax to resign have dwindled in recent weeks, largely because in the zeitgeist of political outrage, newer and fresher moral blasphemers have supplanted the Virginia Democratic scandal. But it is also likely that calls for these high-level state officials have fizzled out due to what appears to be a fracture and an existential crisis between the old guard and the far left wing of the Democratic Party, while the Republican Party appears to be galvanizing in its principles. Much like the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party during the Cultural Revolution, a moral purge appears to be taking place within the Democratic Party, with the established far-left members such as Kirsten Gillibrand, Cory Booker, and Kamala Harris juxtaposed to the youthfully vigorous Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar standing at the vanguard. This wing appears to be embracing the benevolent and axiomatic belief in victimhood and its brutal weaponization over liberty and due process. And, as we've seen in recent days with the downward spiral of the Jussie Smollett scandal, there is no lack of pathological duplicity when championing an ideological narrative.
I respect too much the people who I am now one of those people who have been attacked in any way. You do such a disservice when you lie about things like this.
If the attackers are never found, how will you be able to heal?
I don't know. Let's just hope that they are. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not go there yet. I was talking to a friend and I said, I just want them to find them. And she said, sweetie, they're not gonna find them. And that just made me so angry because, so I'm just gonna be left here with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just gonna be left here with like, so they get to go free and go about their life and possibly attack someone else, and I'm here left with the aftermath of this bull. That's not cool to me. That's not okay. So I understand how difficult it will be to find them, but I still want to believe with everything that has happened that there's something called justice. Because if I stop believing that, then what's it all for?
Thus, always the tyrants. Our justice system is imperfect, but it functions by separate and equally important principles. First, that though we may never achieve the full truth, we maintain a system that will result in justice 9 times out of 10, or at least we pray to. And second, but most importantly, it is better that 9 guilty men go free than 1 innocent man be condemned, and that is why the burden of proof rests firmly upon the state rather than the defendant. The spirit of rights, of due process, of innocence until the proof of guilt. These principles aren't sequestered to the courtroom. They are pillars of the American soul. I don't stand by Justin Fairfax any more than I stand by Brett Kavanaugh, nor do I inherently doubt the accusations of Christina Blasey Ford or Vanessa Tyson. And in fact, Jussie Smollett deserves his day in court if it in fact comes out that he was duplicitous in his intentions and his actions. But until these men are indicted, until they receive their rightful day in court, and until they are found guilty and rightly sentenced, they are innocent of any crime for which they are accused. And in that spirit, I don't stand by the accused, I don't stand by the defendant, I stand by caution. I stand by the law and I stand by liberty, because the alternative is a kangaroo court of retributive pacification through inquisition by the Orwellian ministry of vice and virtue. Thus, always the tyrants.